everybody, it's Sarah, and since it's been a while, and also since I have obviously moved in the last few months and my shelves look completely different, I thought it might be a nice idea to once again do a bookshelf tour. So that's what we're doing today, and I will do this bookshelf tour differently than I usually do my bookshelf tours or have done my bookshelf tours, because usually I have gone through every single book that I own. This video won't be like that. In this video I will show you some of the books. I will show you every single shelf on my bookshelves, but I will generally just give you an overview of the books that I own on my shelves, and also just, you know, in general. But before I go into this bookshelf tour, because there has been some talk recently, also because there has been a video made that I still haven't seen, that I will however link down below, on kind of consumerism and book talk and stuff. Maybe I will make a video on my own thoughts on consumerism and book talk in the future, but generally speaking, I think overconsumption is bad in any way, shape or form. I'm not quite sure yet, and I haven't quite come to a conclusion yet personally, also because I haven't looked into it enough, where overconsumption starts when it comes to books, because in my personal opinion, books are quite a bit different from clothes, where, you know, it's a different thing if you constantly buy clothes and throw clothes away, buy clothes, throw clothes away, whereas books, most of the books that I buy and that I own, I have had for years and I intend on having for years. And obviously I do every now and again do unhauls, because I just simply do not have the space, but I've actually gotten quite a bit better at not necessarily buying the books where I'm like, this just seems like a fun read, but I don't know if I actually want to own this, and just, you know, getting over it and getting the book from my library if I can, or getting an arc of it or whatever. So yeah, but with the books that I have on my shelves, these books are for me collector's items. I love collecting books, I love owning books, I love the atmosphere they give my room. On the other hand, there's also a thing, especially on Book Talk, I've seen a TikTok recently of someone going like, don't like be fooled by the big bookshelves that a lot of the big book talkers have, because half the books that they own they never actually paid for, which, you know, is very different from big content creators to small content creators. For me personally, there are a handful of books that I have been given either as arcs or as finished copies, mostly by self-pub authors. But for me, 99% of the books that I have on my shelves, I didn't necessarily buy with my own money, because a lot of these books I have owned for over a decade, and back then my mom or my dad bought my books. But, you know, if you've just started getting into reading again, if you don't have a big shelf, and if you watch this video, don't feel bad for not having big bookshelves or anything along those lines, because even like, the thing that I would say is more true than saying that most content creators, book content creators, or a lot of book content creators get a lot of books sent for free. I think the thing that is even more true is that a lot of the shelves that you see aren't the work of a year, of 2 years, of even 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. A lot of these shelves might be the work of up to a few decades, which is the case for me. So yeah, let's get into it. And let me first start with showing you kind of the big overview of my bookshelves. So this is what my bookshelves look like right now. There's more behind the door here. Maybe let me just walk over here. There's more over here. I originally had intended, when I moved in here, to just have these shelves. However, my mom convinced me to just fully make a book wall, which I'm actually quite happy right now because it kind of made it possible for me to properly, you know, design my bookshelves, I guess. I now have the space to have books facing frontwards. I, as you can see, have a few shelves that I don't have filled yet. I have the space to put little bits and bobs into my bookshelves. I have an entire shelf that's not even books. So there's just a lot of stuff on my bookshelves. Right now I can freely go to my books. Usually when I film I just put a chair here because I do not have a sofa yet. However, for Christmas I'm gonna buy myself a sofa. And then over here, I'm gonna show it to you more closely, was my birthday present, or is my birthday present from my mom, which is Andorel. So I got that for my birthday. But let's start over here with my shelves. This shelf right here, if you go down here, is my non-fiction shelf. Up here, I just have a lot of very random stuff. I have like photo books and just picture, you know, photography books, Japan, Planet Earth, encyclopedia, lexicon of archaeology. I have some mythology books. I have a book on the psychology of vampires. I actually have all my vampire books right here. I have one here on the Dance of Death. There's a lot of like kind of bits and bobs types books up here. Next shelf, we're getting into my books on books. This one is on Faustus. There's on translating Shakespeare by someone who did the most recent full translation of Shakespeare works into German. I have some Umberto Eco, not his stuff on fascism. I have his stuff on books. So this is called The Art of Loving Books. This one is on the history of legendary countries and places. So yeah, this is the history of books. Another book on the history of books. I forgot what this one is called in English, but it's basically on archives and libraries. And then we're going into more history type books, history of drunkenness. There's just random little stories throughout history. This one is Silk Roads. I'm currently doing this as audio and I'm sorry, I just moved because right now I'm still holding the camera in my hand. This one is also just little histories from history. It's a book published by two historians that have a podcast that I really enjoy. This one is the recent book on Hannah Arendt that I talked about in my most recent wrap-up. So let's see if for the next one we can already use the tripod. Next shelf, and the tripod is working. This is more country-specific stuff. We have Japan, or like region-specific stuff. I should say, I am already gay. I don't need to gay. Country-specific stuff. So Japan. We have some stuff on Africa. Some books that I stole from the library of my mom. This one is on decolonialism, like kind of the world after the empires. We have Necropolitics, of course, a book that I always recommend. It's just amazing. We have some Thomas Piketty, who won the not Nobel Prize for Economics back in I don't know which year. I still haven't read this. It's so short. This is on how racism and discrimination influence poverty, I think, mostly. We have Edward Said, obviously, like duh. Then moving one down. So next we have museum stuff. We have the British Museums, incredible book, highly recommend. The same with Benedict Savoy, which is an author who did like this research study on stolen art in European, but especially in French museums, and then wrote this paper on it, or this book on it. We have something about American museums and how American museums deal with the history of slavery. Angela Davis, Women Race Class. Obviously, I have read parts of it for uni. I still need to read it back to back. We have Simone de Beauvoir. This, like, moving on here is stuff on gender and on women. And then we move into my anthropology stuff. So we have Bourdieu, obviously, Lévi-Strauss. This one is the book that I had to read for my introductory courses for anthropology. So Small Places, Large Issues. If you want a quick overview about the topics that anthropology deals with, I can highly recommend. Generally anthropology stuff. So next, this one I just haven't found a place for yet. It's for one of the courses that I'm currently doing in socioeconomics. It's about developmental theories and also, you know, post-developmental theories. Aside from that, this over here is some more anthropology stuff. Mostly like just books that I had to get for courses. This one my mom got me. I forgot what it's actually about. It says Power and Development or something. Then we have some Piketty. I only read The Capital in the 21st Century. I have not read these two yet. I really need to. It's about equality and also just, you know, economics, equality stuff. This is about debt. Oh, it's by David Graeber. I never looked at that. David Graeber is, I think, actually a historian, anthropologist stuff. He also wrote anthropology stuff, at least. Capitalism or History of Capitalism, Economic History of Antiquity, Freakonomics, and this is just macroeconomics. This one is a uni book. And then this one is just the last books for economics that I have. Then just some random stuff and travel guides and then my dictionaries. And down here, if you're looking here, is just other miscellaneous stuff. Dictionaries, once again, dictionary. This is articles from different journals. These things here until about here, I think. And this is just, you know, those children's non-fiction books on fantasy creatures. So that's what this is. So, and then the next shelf that we have, here we have my classics. Oops, I need to move this one. Here we have my classics. Uppermost shelf is mostly fairy tales and folk tales of various kinds. So Japanese ghost stories. This is illustrated. This is 1001 Nights or Arabian Nights. The Nibelungen, but like retold. We have Austrian tales. We have Irish tales. Tales from Brittany, so Britain, France. Japanese tales, or some more Japanese tales, and then the Brothers Grimm fairy tales. Down here, we're moving on. This is just some of my pretty editions, I guess. We have more Grimm's fairy tales. We have this illustrated edition of The Jungle Book by Rudyard Kipling. This is just the first Jungle Book. If you have ever read the Jungle Books, you will know that it's actually two stories, and you on the one hand have the stories that follow Mowgli, and then you have other short stories as well. Peter Pan, I'm not gonna get it out because with one hand I am sure that something will fall over, but this is Peter Pan. And then we have Le Morte d'Arthur by Sir Thomas Malory. Moving on, one more downwards. I think we might be able to use the tripod again, so let me just do that. So continuing on with some pretty editions right here. I have, this is poetry about and by women. About and or by women. Some more Celtic fairy tales, but it's a pretty edition, so it's not up there. No, two of these I actually haven't read yet. It's like the two TBR books that are on my bookshelf actually, and this is very dusty. This is embarrassing. So I have Madame Bovary, and then also The Invisible Man. Then I have Moby Dick, which is kind of funny because none of these I have, like, I bought in Austria. This one I bought in Lisbon, I think. This one I bought in Amsterdam. And this one my mom got me from, I forgot where, maybe Wales or something. Then we have Goethe, we have Jamaica Inn, Paradise Lost, a Karl May book, and my two, I think they're called the Word Cloud classics. Yeah, Word Cloud classics, the Count of Monte Cristo and Treasure Island. And then moving one downwards. So moving down here, we have my Oscar Wilde cubicle with all the editions I have of The Picture of Dorian Gray. First, I have the annotated edition of The Picture of Dorian Gray. This is the original one as well. So the uncensored one that was published first. Was it published? I forgot. But the one that he originally sent to the publishers. Then we have the normal Penguin Popular Classics edition. We have the Word Cloud edition. We have the Penguin Classics edition. This one is a German edition of The Picture of Dorian Gray. This one is not A Picture of Dorian Gray. It's The Plays of Oscar Wilde, which I for some reason have two of, so I obviously had to put both here. We have the cloth-bound Penguin cloth-bound Classics edition. This one is an old version of the Happy Prince and Other Tales. It's a German old edition from 1906. As you can see, there's multiple of these ones, but at the antiquity shop that I was at, they didn't have this one for The Picture of Dorian Gray, sadly. So I only have this one. So this is just 15 years after publication of this one, The Picture of Dorian Gray. This is a book of quotes. Here we have the Collins Classics again. This is the Canterville Ghost, The Happy Prince and Other Stories. And then I have another little book of just quotes and essays. Only dull people are brilliant at breakfast. As you can tell, I am really obsessed with Dorian Gray. So continuing on, technically there's 3 shelves left on this bookshelf, but only 2 of the shelves have books on them. Here I have my Collins Classics, my Penguin Popular Classics editions, and some others. These are also some Penguin Classics editions. As you can tell, my classics, I usually sort by edition. So I sort by edition and then date of the publication, which sometimes can be difficult in the case of like collections, like Selected Tales or something. But yeah, so these are my Penguin stuff and these are my miscellaneous down here. So I have some Sheridan Le Fanu, I have Carmilla. I really need to get like a pretty edition of Carmilla because this is so annoying. Which is really funny because when I got this, which was like 15 years ago or something, I could only find this one. Like there was no pretty edition of Carmilla that I could find. At least not like on Austrian Amazon or in my bookshops. We have some Jack London, then James Joyce. We have my 2 other Penguin Classics editions that aren't Picture of Dorian Gray. So I have Wuthering Heights and I have Great Expectations. Then I have classics that are not English, mostly. Le Petit Prince, I have The Three Musketeers, I have some Faust stuff by different people, so Goethe and also Thomas Mann. Then these are Reklam. Everyone who went to school in Germany and Austria will know these editions of books. These are our Penguin Popular Classics, €3 per book classics editions. The Steppenwolf by Hermann Hesse. I have some Erich Hacker. I have some Peter Handke. Then this one, The Boy, the Mole, the Fox and the Horse. Can absolutely recommend. It got me to cry. And then these two are just miscellaneous. This one is Oisin. This one I had to read for my Irish course. It is in Irish. In fact, I could not read this anymore right now. Sorry, I hit you. And this one is a magazine of queer stories. So, as for my general bookshelves, like my fantasy bookshelves, I kind of sorted them a bit differently this time. I wasn't as concise with sorting them. I have kind of different themes for specific shelves, but overall, while sometimes some genres will be together or subgenres, it's not always the case. But in any case, over here, we're starting with retellings, and then we go into stories that I would almost count as modern fairy tales. Up here, some retellings. We start with non-Western retellings, starting with retellings of Indian epics. So we have the Burnt Empire series by Ashok K. Banker, which is a retelling of the Mahabharata, I think, and then Kaikeyi, which is obviously a retelling of the, well, not obviously, if you know, obviously, of the Ramayana. This is also an Indian retelling. Then we have some Asian stuff, I guess, with Daughter of the Moon Goddess, so the Celestial Kingdom duology. These are not necessarily retellings, but these are like in the realm of very folklorish and modern fairy tale type. So Redemption in Indigo, Four Profound Weaves, etc. Gods of Shade and Shadow, can highly recommend. And then we're getting into the Greek stuff. So I have Ithaca, I have Ariadne, I have some Troy stuff. Like, I tend to put the Troy stuff together a lot, not gonna lie. So we have Silence of the Girls and Women of Troy, Daughter of Sparta, which is... Does it actually go into the Troy stuff? I think in Helen's story. Wait, I can highly recommend, and this one is a German one, Die Götter müssen sterben. Then the next one of my favorite shelves. I really like how it ended up looking. This is my Madeline Miller shelf, and I put some of my Greek, Roman type miniatures here. And obviously we have the Song of Achilles in 3 editions. This is just the box set of the Illumicrate ones. We have Circe in 2 editions. I'm thinking about getting the 10th anniversary one as well, but I don't know how the red will look on the shelf. And then we have the English and the German edition of Galatea. So, moving down, we have some more retellings, but we're getting from the myth stuff more into the fairy tale stuff as well. So we have Witch's Heart over here. There's the Loki duology. This is a YA duology, kind of connected to the Loki duology, but it's not directly a retelling. We have the retellings of the Child Ballads. We have Honeycomb. Then my Juliet Marillier stuff. Not all of my Juliet Marillier stuff, but a lot of it. Although the only one that's like... Both of these are kind of retellings, and Heart's Blood as well. Wildwood Dancing also, but everything that's a sequel is no longer really that much of a retelling, to be honest. And then this, which is not necessarily a retelling, just historical fantasy, The Children of Gods and Fighting Men by Shauna Lawless. I still need to get the physical edition of the 2nd book. Moving down, we have some more modern fairy tale stuff. My 1T Kingfisher book, I have my Ava Reid adult novels. I have the Winter Night trilogy. Then some Tessa Gratton, or the adult books by Tessa Gratton that I have. A Diary of Blood. We have Niveau's retellings. Black Leopard, Red Wolf. Actually, I don't know right now how much of it is a retelling, because I only recently found out that one of the names actually is taken from an, I think, Western African epic. So I don't know, but this is also very much inspired by African mythology stuff and African storytelling, so that's why I have it here. And then this is about a storyteller, so I put the Singing Hills saga here, and I have my little series TBR chart. So the next two shelves are kind of my Anne Bishop stuff. I finally have the space to have my German Black Jewels books, the ones that I still own, in front as well, and not just have them hidden in the back. And then obviously I have the rest of the Black Jewels in the English editions. Then moving down one shelf, we have the Ephemera duology in German, or trilogy I guess, and then the Ephemera books in English. We have the others right here, and then the Tara Lane trilogy. I have Green Rider over here, and then I'm getting into my Jennifer Fallon books. So I have the Hydron Chronicles, the first trilogy. I have the other Hydron books. I have, I think this is called the Second Sons trilogy. And then I generally on this shelf have some miscellaneous fantasy by women, or mostly women. I'm not quite sure right now if any of them are genderqueer. But I have the, I forgot what this is called, but The Unspoken Name and The Thousand Eyes, this duology. I have the Daverbird trilogy. Then I have Knochenblumen Weltnicht, which is again German fantasy. And these books back there are books that I was either sent or that I had arcs of. So these two right here are self-pub fantasy that I was sent. Scorpica was the first arc that I was ever given as an e-arc, where I then bought the book. And then this was the first, this right here was the first physical arc that I got, which is the Outlaw Mage. So this shelf is kind of more miscellaneous stuff, and also some urban fantasy, historical fantasy type things. And also here I right now have Andoril, which is plopped into my guitar stand, and which I will now move out of the way so we can properly get to the shelf. So up here I just kind of have a vase that I stole from my grandma after she moved to a retirement home. Here we're starting with the kind of, you know, urban fantasy type thing. A Master of Jin, which is historical urban fantasy. Sanguine Dämonis, German, Vienna, urban fantasy. Dark Apprentice and Dark Mind, not necessarily urban fantasy, but historical paranormal fantasy. The Book Eaters, Pure Nessie. These are kind of the miscellaneous that I don't really know where to put. My two V. Schwab books. Then down here, quite easy, we have my Invisible Library series, which again is historical urban fantasy, and we have Babel. This is one of my other favorite shelves. I just like, this is one of the only shelves that, interestingly, it kind of fits theme-wise as well, but that I kind of color coordinated. So we have my naked hardback of the Illumicrate edition of A Study in Drowning by Ava Reid. And then we have the Memoirs of Lady Trent by Marie Brennan. And both books are kind of research focused, and so the quill and the ink kind of fit right here. And then the last one on this shelf is some more Asian fantasy. I think this is all Asian fantasy. Yeah, so we have Jin Yong, Thorn of the Night Blossom, the Drowning Empire trilogy, Fireheart Tiger, and then the Chronicles of the Bitch Queen. And I decided you're just gonna have to deal with the shaky camera. I'm too lazy to fuck around with the tripod actually. So these next two shelves are shelves that I would call series that you might encounter or that you're most likely to encounter if you ask for recommendations on Reddit or for fantasy recommendations on the internet. So obviously we have a Game of Thrones, J.R.R. Tolkien, we have the Kingkiller Chronicles, some Joe Abercrombie, which I think one of those books is the wrong way around, so let me get this for a second. Now that's better. And then Anthony Ryan, which is probably the least known out of all of these. And then on the next shelf are the ones that are maybe not as white and male. So we have the Poppy War, we have N.K. Jemisin, then the Greenbone Saga, Priory of the Orange Tree, and also the Empire Trilogy by Jenny Wirtz and Raymond E. Feist. This next shelf is my Trudy Canavan shelf. So I have the Magician's Apprentice, the German edition. I have my German editions of the Black Magicians trilogy. I have my Illumicrate edition of the Black Magicians trilogy. I tried, like, technically they make a picture if you line all of them up, but it looks really weird if all of them are lined up, so I put them like this. And then I have the Traitor Spy trilogy. So all of these are set in the same world. And I'm just for a second not gonna move down, but I'm gonna move over here because here's the continuation of my Trudy Canavan books. I have the Age of the Five and I have the Millennium's Rule. But now we're gonna go back and we're gonna go down again. And this shelf is a shelf of, well, actually, I guess this is now kind of a little bit an exception. I'm not quite sure if it belongs on there, but this is a shelf of the series that are on my all-time favorites list. I have, of course, A Chorus of Dragons. The first one over here that looks like an arc isn't actually an arc. It's the French edition that I bought when I went to Paris and Jen Lyons was there signing books. And so I have this one signed, and I think The House of Always. I also have signed, I couldn't get all of them signed because hand luggage. Then I have obviously my Rook and Rose series, my favorite series of all time, period. And I have my Venetian Mask from Venice because it just fits. And, you know, it just wanted to decorate my shelves here a little bit more. Then I have She Who Became the Sun. These two are signed. Again, it was the same time that I got these over here signed. And I also got a French edition of these books. And I took the one German book that I had back then with me. And then I have He Who Drowned the World. I got the Illumicrate edition because actually the French edition of these books very much look like the Illumicrate edition of these books. I kind of can't do this with one hand, but you just have to believe me. So actually, kind of interestingly, now that I noticed, I think all the books of Shelley Parker-Chan that I own are signed. And then I have The Sword of Kaigen, which isn't a series, but still a favorite. We have some more kind of favorite books. Well, not necessarily all of them. Some of these are just miscellaneous, but Daughter of Redwinter, Kings of the Wild. The second book I do own, but Zilla has it currently. There's generally a few books that Zilla has. I have the Forever Sea duology, then the God King Chronicles. Really enjoyed these. I have these two, Final Strife, Stardust Thief. There's my Jacqueline Carey books. Soon the third or the last of the Kushiel books will also join here because I'm reading that this month, and then there's some other miscellaneous books here. So The Witch King, God Killer, Star Eater, and The Vanished Queen. Then we have one empty shelf, and down here is all my rejects. Down here is all the books that I don't actually like that much, but that I just, you know, I don't want to get rid of or don't want to get rid of yet. So we have The Last Wish. I might at some point, actually did enjoy The Last Wish quite a bit, so I could also pull this up on another shelf, but it's just here for now. I have Mort. Then I have the few Sanderson books that I still have. We'll see how long I will still have them. New Spring, I got rid of the rest of the Wheel of Time. I have my J. Christoph books, which I just kind of don't want to get rid of them because these two are the Illumicrate editions. So, I don't know, but the only thing special about them is that they're signed and that they have the black sprayed edges. I don't know. Maybe I can get rid of them at some point. This one is still here. This is probably gonna go with my next unhaul, but this one is here because I only bought it this year. Same with the Daughters of Istihar. The 11th cycle I did get signed, so kind of can't really get rid of these ones. And we don't talk about them, but the reason why I kept some Harry Potter books is because these specific books, these specific physical books, have a lot of memories attached to them, so that's why I kept them. Then we have next shelf. I'm just doing this right now so I don't have to come down here for 2 books. We have The Son and the Void, which was one of my most disappointing reads of the year, and Art of the Prophecy. So yeah, The Son and the Void I will probably keep because it's an Illumicrate edition and it's really pretty. Let's see how long I will keep the Art of the Prophecy. So this is the next shelf that you did see some of already. Up here I have some epic fantasy, I have the Dandelion Dynasty, and I have the first book in the Tales of Tremaine. Then here is my one sci-fi shelf that I have. So Ancillary Justice, Gideon the Ninth, the Texelan duology. I have an extra paperback of A Desolation Called Peace and The Red Skull as Wake. You already know my Trudy Canavan shelf here, and here's some miscellaneous BIPOC women and genderqueer folks with some books. Who Fears Death. We have the Between Earth and Sky series, the Burning Kingdoms trilogy, the first 2 books in The Magic of the Lost, and then Son of the Storm. So actually there is one man. I think he identifies as man on here, but yeah. And then there's some pretty rocks because, again, I'm gay, so obviously I have rocks. Next shelf. I need to probably move this cart out of the way, but here's my next shelf. Up here we have my teen and YA loves. These are some like I guess, oh no, Jostein Gaarde I think is Norwegian, not Swedish. Otherwise I would have said some German and some Swedish people. But Astrid Lindgren, we have Michael Ende. These are just books that I loved. Sophie's World as a like preteen. We have the Narnia bind-up, we have his Dark Materials. Here I usually have my Inkheart books, but one of them is on my TBR pile and the other one is on my I need to talk about this in my next wrap-up pile. This one I haven't read yet. This should technically belong on my TBR pile, but whatever. And then Bartimaeus. Next one, we're continuing on with some YA. We have Aragon and also the illustrated edition of Aragon because Christopher Paolini was actually in Vienna to sign things last week, so I went to see him again. Then the Crown of Feathers trilogy, To Shape a Dragon's Breath, a book that I recently really enjoyed. Girls of Paper and Fire. These ones I can also highly recommend, so Tessa Gretchen, the Nightshine duology, and yeah, these are just kind of whatever. Here we have the Emerged World books by Licia Troisi, who is an Italian author. These I absolutely devoured so many times as a child. I adore these and I really need to reread them. Also, they just have, I mean, you can see everything that's on the spine is like the cover. The covers are just absolutely gorgeous. So I do really love them. Then these are Rhiannon's Ride, Cemetery Boys, The Gilded Wolves. I do not have the rest of The Gilded Wolves because I've just started to if I don't enjoy the entire series, I will just sometimes keep one book of the series representatively and get rid of the rest. Some more YA. Percy Jackson, technically middle grade, but you know what I mean. Don't have any other Rick Riordan books. The ones that I had, I got rid of. Alfheim. And then we get into my Cassandra Clare stuff that's on the next 1.5 shelves, I guess. And then going down, I have my Laurel K. Hamilton stuff. Laurel K. Hamilton, who also has 1.5 shelves of her own. And then back here I have Carrie Arthur. And this is bothering me, so let's just slightly move those to the front. So, and these are the books that are neither classics. Some of these are modern classics, but these are the books that aren't classics and are not fantasy. So, Dan Brown, there's some historical fiction here. Donna Tartt, Margaret Atwood, Dead Poet Society. Just, you know, some typical representation of some things. We have Girl, Woman, Other. Yag Yasi, Homecoming, really enjoyed this one. I need to get the other one. I forgot what it's called. I think, was it Transcendence? Was that the Yag Yasi book? We have the African Trilogy by Chinua Achebe. So here I have my BIPOC. Like these two shelves are my BIPOC non-fantasy books. And they're kind of shelved by roughly, you know, Black, African and diaspora, Asian and diaspora, indigenous, and then Latine. So here we have African and diaspora, so obviously Bernardine Evaristo is from the UK and is Black. I think Babalola is also from the UK. Then we have some American authors, French Black authors, and then some African authors. Yeah, these are all African, and then the same here. So we have some Asian authors that weren't born in Asia or don't live in Asia anymore, and some Japanese authors, which is most of the representation that I have in terms of, you know, from the country and still living in the country. Indian, German. And then we have some South American stuff. Well, one South American book with 100 Years of Solitude. And then we have my indigenous stuff. Warrior Girl on Earth is soon gonna go here, but that's also still on my, I need to talk about this in my next wrap-up pile. And then down here we just see my current TBR. So that's my most immediate TBR. As you can see, here's Ink Death, Battle Drum, Speaking Bones. I still want to read this year, and Angels Before Man. This one is kind of a shelf of just stuff. I'm not gonna go further up because there's pictures of my family and I don't know if they feel comfortable being on my channel. So yeah, here I just have random stuff. This is my D&D stuff. This is my filming and Illumicrate stuff that I don't know where to put. And this is just random. And these two shelves I can go over quite quickly. This is my antique books shelf. So I don't know where the video cut out. So let's go again over this one. This is my antique books. This is not a BDSM harness. It's a harness for books to carry a book with you. But yeah, it's not all my antique books that I have. I actually have quite a few more, but I'm still storing those at my mom's. If you're wondering what these things are about, these are just hair ties that I have there because some of the books are low-key falling apart because I tend to go for the cheapest antique books and those tend to be in the worst quality. But yeah, some highlights of my collection include these, for example. These are, yeah, they're offensive. Let's put it like that. These are about discoveries, like the biggest discoveries of mankind. Yeah, they were written around 1900, so they read like that. But yeah, I still, you know, it's something that I do. I wouldn't say enjoy having, but it's a good reminder of
you know, what people were like. And it's part of the reason why I actually, in a lot of decolonial fantasy, why I don't think villains are over the top, because this reads exactly like that. This over here, if you were wondering what this Beauty and the Beast rose is, this is actually a dried rose from the funerary, what's it called? Like, not bouquet, but like the round thing from my grandma. So yeah, I have that in here. And here's my cookbooks. And here's some more dried roses because I love dried roses, generally. And then this last shelf is just my graphic novel and manga stuff. Down here we have Witch. I actually got rid of like most of my manga collection before I moved, and somehow it ended up that all of my graphic novels perfectly fit into one shelf. These are the mangas I own. I have Angel Diary, there's some Aoharu the Ride here, Fruits Basket, Switch Girl was one of my favorites, Vampire Game was one of the first mangas I ever read. And then here I have Monstrous. And in terms of other graphic novels, I mostly have French stuff. So I have Lucky Luke, I have Asterix, I have Elves. Yeah, there's just a lot of stuff. And then the last thing, I guess, is this is my TBR card. I will give you a full rundown of my physical TBR before the year is over as well. So I won't go into this too much right now. Up here I usually have the books that I have finished in the month, and I put them up here until I have a wrap up, or they might be up here longer if I still want to film a review for them, because otherwise I just forget about the books, so they get stored up here. And then in terms of my TBR card, down here are kind of the bigger books and the hardcovers. Here are your standard paperbacks, and on the back I have some more standard paperbacks and my mass market paperbacks, and this one just doesn't fit anywhere else currently. But yeah, so that was it for my bookshelf tour, and I won't show you my face again because then I have to put my tripod up again. So let me just say goodbye to you like this. I hope you enjoyed it. It was longer than I intended once again, but what can you do? If you enjoyed this video, maybe think about giving me a thumbs up and also maybe subscribing. And with all of that said, all my links to my social media as well as to my book club are as always down below, so go and check those out. And I hope I'll see you soon. Bye!